Today, we are digging into a deal that is so massive it could completely reshape your streaming habits, ignite a huge political battle, and honestly, decide the very future of Hollywood itself. So yeah, let's get right into it.
And right out of the gate, this is the quote that just blew everything up. The moment this deal was announced, you had Senator Warren saying this, and it really just perfectly frames the massive stakes and the controversy we're about to unpack.
Okay, so why all the fuss? What makes this deal so controversial? Well, first things first, you got to wrap your head around just how enormous this is. We're not talking about your average everyday merger. No, this is the kind of thing that completely redraws the map of Hollywood. And here is the number that has everyone's jaw on the floor: an $82.7 billion price tag. I mean, to put that into perspective for you, that number is bigger than when Disney bought Fox, and that was a huge deal. This is, well, it's a historic consolidation of power, plain and simple. But what's really interesting is how they're doing it. See, Netflix isn't just buying up all of Warner Bros. Discovery. No, this is more like a surgical strike. They're grabbing all the good stuff, the crown jewels, the film studios, HBO, DC Comics, and they're leaving the old school traditional cable channels behind. Pretty smart, right? All right, so let's talk about what this means for you sitting on your couch. What's going to happen to your watch list? Because let me tell you, the library of content that Netflix is about to get its hands on, it is just staggering. I mean, just look at this list. Overnight, Netflix basically gets the keys to the kingdom. Harry Potter, Batman, Game of Thrones, Friends. These are the brands that have defined entertainment for decades. And poof, they're all going to live under one single digital roof. For Netflix, this is a game changer. It instantly solves that problem they've always had: not owning enough of those big, established legacy franchises. And this really gets to the core of what's happening here. It's a huge shift in strategy for them. For years, Netflix had to build its own hits, right? Create a Stranger Things out of thin air. But now they're just buying a century's worth of hits all at once. They're going from being a creator to a collector. Okay, so let's get down to the brass tacks. What does this huge corporate merger actually mean for you, for the apps on your TV, and maybe more importantly, for your wallet? Yeah, this is the big one, isn't it? The question on everyone's mind. What's going to happen to my HBO Max subscription? Do I need to keep two apps? Is one of them about to just vanish? Well, look, nothing is set in stone just yet, but if you look at how these kinds of mergers usually play out, there's a pretty clear pattern. First, the HBO Max app, yeah, it'll probably go away. Then, all that great HBO and Warner Bros. Stuff gets folded right into Netflix. And the third step? You guessed it. Your subscription price is almost certainly going up. It usually ends with one giant app and a bigger bill. Now, it's not just us, the subscribers, who are worried. This whole thing has set off some major alarm bells in Washington, D.C. And what's wild is the concern is coming from both sides of the aisle. You have critics like Senator Warren basically saying, look, if you let this happen, you're taking one of the biggest competitors off the board. And what you're left with is a supersized Netflix that can charge whatever it wants and decide what kind of shows even get made. And that, they argue, is bad for all of us. And like I said, this is not a partisan thing at all. You've got key Republicans like Senator Mike Lee saying pretty much the same thing. It's one of those rare moments where everyone in Washington seems to agree. This deal needs a very close look to make sure we don't end up with a monopoly. But of course, Netflix sees it completely differently. Their co-CEO, Ted Sarandos, is out there saying this is going to be great for everyone. He's arguing that if you combine all these amazing assets, you get more innovation, better shows, and it's a win-win for creators and for us watching at home. When you cut through all the noise, though, it really comes down to this one simple, pretty scary fact. This is the number that has regulators spooked. We're talking about a single company potentially controlling almost half of the entire American streaming market. I mean, that's just unprecedented. So even with all the headlines, you've got to remember, this merger is a long, long way from being a done deal. In fact, what's coming next is a massive, probably very messy, and definitely very public fight with regulators. And this is not going to happen overnight. We're looking at a super slow, drawn-out process. The deal itself can't even close until late 2026 at the absolute earliest. Warner Brothers has to do this whole complicated internal split first. So that gives regulators, a couple of years? Plenty of time for this whole thing to get challenged or changed or maybe even fall apart completely. And it's not just in the US. Netflix and Warner Bros. Have to run this global gauntlet of powerful regulators. They've got to convince the folks in the Department of Justice, the European Commission, you name it, that this deal won't kill competition. And they have to do all of that in a pretty tricky political climate. Okay, so putting aside the prices and the politics for a second, this whole deal brings up a much bigger, almost philosophical question, right? A question about the future of movies and what it means to actually go see a movie in a theater.
Because at its core, this is a clash of two totally different worlds. You have the traditional Hollywood studio model, which is all about selling tickets and getting people into theaters. The big screen is king. Then you have the Netflix model, where the only thing that matters is keeping you subscribed every month. Streaming is king. And those two ideas are now on a collision course.
And you're hearing a lot of industry experts voice this exact worry. Think about it. Warner Bros. Is a company built on the magic of cinema. Netflix, they're built on keeping you on your couch. The fear is that in this new world, the subscription will always win out over the movie theater experience. But again, Netflix pitches this very differently. They frame this as the next logical step, the exciting evolution of entertainment. For them, this isn't the end of an era, it's the start of the next great chapter in storytelling. And so, while the bigwigs in boardrooms and government offices fight this out, the real question is left for us. Are we looking at the beginning of an amazing new era for entertainment? Or are we watching the final move that changes Hollywood as we know it forever?